Hi, souls. It's me, Kylie, your Saturday reader at Waken Soul in Grand Rapids. Hi! Hey, guess what? I have a new setup today, which is very exciting, I must say. So if it looks like I'm brighter, it's because I am. I bought a cute little ring light just for my tarot table. Isn't that really cool? I think it's really cool. So now you should be able to see me and the cards better and the table better, which is really just very important when you're trying to do online videos for tarot. But I'm also returning because this week we are in the cusp of Sagittarius season, which begins on Saturday, the 22nd. And so I'm back to do an archetype reading, and specifically the Temperance archetype. If you are following along, what I've been doing is covering major archetypes for the major arcana that correspond to astrological signs. And I'm kind of focusing on the cards that only associate to one sign for right now, and specifically the sign of the season. So I have 4 new decks to play with. Well, 2 of them are brand new, and 2 of them are not. And we're going to be talking about the Temperance archetype. In fact, with Sagittarius season beginning, we're stepping into this energy of temperance, which is the guardian of balance, the middle path, and the quiet wisdom that comes from walking between extremes. Temperance teaches us that healing is not instant. It's created through the right mixture of patience, intention, and gentle practice. Today, I'll be using a new 3-card spread, always a thematic one, for Temperance season, which is called Angel, North Star, and Path. And it will be designed to help us tune into that balance this Sagittarius season. So to that end, I have, like I said, 4 decks to use today. I'm going to use a new deck for the season. I actually have another new tarot deck that I'm going to use to clarify that just happens to be perfect for it. And then 2 oracle decks, which are not new to me, but are new to these videos. So our Sagittarius season deck officially is the Golden Art Nouveau Tarot, which is a fairly common, fairly traditional deck. You can get it in a lot of places. It's very Rider-Waite based. All of the imagery is pretty Rider-Waite based. Its featured card is Temperance, though, so to me, this is the Sagittarius deck of the season. To clarify those cards in those 3 major positions with that, I'm going to be using another brand new deck to me that just, I bought it because it sounded like or seemed like a deck that felt good to me, and as it turns out, it has some very Sagittarius energy, I would say. I got this on Etsy. This is the Tarot Illuminati. So it's got very mysterious puzzly things, and lots of important figures are depicted. It's gold leafed. Ooh, we got more leafing. So that's going to be our clarification deck for those 3 cards. And then for our advice, this reading, for the big archetype reading, I have 2 oracle decks. One is the Angelic Activations Oracle, which comes from Hay House. This is a very angel-inspired deck, and while I don't typically use sort of angel reading oracles, in fact, this one's been sitting on my shelf for quite a while. It's one that I got in like a subscription. What better time to use something like this than Temperance season, since the Temperance card features an angel typically. So we're going to use that for primary advice. In fact, the advice is listed on a lot of the cards on the back side of the angels you see. And then for the button advice, we're going to pull one that from a deck that you've probably seen before. In fact, I think our other reader, Melissa, uses the larger version of this deck. This is the Psychic Tarot Oracle. So it's an oracle that has a lot of basis in the tarot deck, but also has cards very unique to it. And I'm using that to actually balance the angel theme. Get it? Because balance is part of Temperance. So we'll be using that for button advice. I may or may not go to the book for that one. I don't normally go to the book for that one, but sometimes there might be secret advice. So remember, these archetype readings are for everybody, anybody who views this video. If you find this video, you are meant to see it, but it does try to give sort of a reading along the themes around the sign that we're doing, which is Sagittarius, the key card associated to the archetype that we're doing, which in this case is Temperance, and then it kind of looks at the overall themes for the next 4 weeks around the themes that the sign and the Arcana card that we're doing, where they sort of merge and how they will affect us for the next coming season. So I'm going to start with the Golden Art Nouveau tarot deck. Brand new to me, but very familiar in feel because it's so Rider-Waite inspired. And I'm going to do the shuffling. And if you recall, I shuffled this way because while I read reversals, I don't typically shuffle to encourage reversals. If reversals come out, I will read them. But if they're coming out, it's because I figure Spirit wants me to see it that way. Okay. So the first card we're going to pull for this particular spread is the Angel card, which is what is guiding you inwardly right now. That's a lot of cards. We do have a new deck, so we're going to try that again. What is guiding... Okay, just popped right out there. This is what is guiding us inwardly. So I think I will lay the first row and then the clarifiers, and then I will read them that way. The second card is our North Star, which is what is keeping us oriented. Oh my. Haha. It's the card of the season, which is good. I like that. And then the third card we're going to draw is the Path, how to walk forward in peace. This is the path, how to walk forward in peace. Too many cards, please. This is the path, how to walk forward in peace. Okay. We're now going to shuffle and draw the clarifiers before I read the positions. And again, this is the Tarot Illuminati, which I found on Etsy. These cards are very sticky, so I swear I had to pry them apart. I think because of the weight and the wax they use on the cardstock or whatever it is they do to seal colors. So I'm a little worried this is going to be sticky, but we'll see what happens. Okay, Spirit, please clarify the Emperor. Way too many. Please clarify the Emperor, please. Okay. Please clarify Temperance. That's way too many. Please clarify Temperance. Those are sequential, so I'm going to keep shuffling. Please clarify Temperance. Too many. Please clarify Temperance. I'm worried they were sticky, and I think I was right to be worried. Please clarify Temperance. There we go. Oh, look at that again. And then please clarify the Four of Pentacles. Okay. So going back to our spread, the first combination of cards are the Angel, what is guiding us inwardly. This is the whisper of the higher self, the part of you that wants harmony and softening. So we start with the Emperor. What you want to be softened at this point is basically the need for control. The Emperor is all about control. It's all about creating boundaries and structure. And there is a sense right now that control has been almost to the point of being a control freak, but control has really been kind of ruling your life. So this card represents what your inner guidance is urging you toward right now. It's the voice of patience, the reminder that balance comes from within before it ever shows up outside of us. Notice what part of you feels comforted or called by this message. That's your Temperance angel speaking. So have you been trying to soften control, or does control make you feel comforted? To clarify that is the Seven of Swords, which ironically in this deck, these swords are being held by a fool. And my immediate thought was, am I fooling myself? Because the Seven of Swords is about deceit and betrayal. And so I think the energy that needs to be softened, what the angel is calling you to do right now, is to think very critically about whether the control you have is a facade or not. I would suspect that you are feeling you're holding on tight to the reins of control. You're holding on tight to needing to be in charge, to needing to call the shots, to creating very hard boundaries, but that's also creating walls. And is it really achieving the objectives that you're trying to maintain? Or is that sense of control the comfort in and of itself? The angel on your shoulder is basically asking you just how necessary this sense of control is and whether or not you need to continue maintaining it. This very well could be the aspect that you need to soften. And that's kind of how I would say it, because when we're very, very controlling, that's not actually a way that we create harmony. In fact, that sense of control can either disrupt our own internal compass because we're trying to maintain something that can't be maintained. It can also be off-putting to other people, right? When we put out very firm boundaries, even if they reaffirm a sense of power for ourselves, it can also be very disjointing and off-putting is what I keep thinking to other people, especially if you are trying to facilitate teamwork and togetherness and a unified presence. So the angel is asking you really to think through just how much control you need and whether that control is a security blanket for you or really necessary to whatever it is you're trying to achieve. Your North Star is the value or truth that keeps you steady when things feel chaotic. This is your anchor, your compass, and it shows the practice that restores equilibrium, the choice or intention that helps you avoid swinging between extremes. Ask yourself, what truth have I rediscovered and what keeps me aligned with who I really am? That's your North Star, and you drew the card of the season, which is Temperance. So the good news is, even if you're feeling a little bit controlling and you're feeling as if that piece of it needs to soften, the angel on your shoulder is also kind of the angel in your heart. It's the anchor. You know that that balance is what you need, and you're not even questioning it. There just must be some sort of involuntary or habitual or ingrained part of you that reaches for the hyper control rather than allowing that mixture of sort of delegation, of allowing others to help, of allowing others to give you feedback. Because when you're able to sort of unburden yourself a little bit, you feel more balanced, and that is what's keeping you oriented. You know that. This is knowledge that is conscious to you. And in fact, you know that so well because that's ultimately what you wish for. This is the Nine of Cups, so this is wish fulfillment at its most basic meaning. But you're actually truly wishing for that balance. So The good news is you recognize the problem, and the first step to solving one is whether or not solving a problem is whether or not you recognize it. And you do recognize it. And you also recognize that if you can allow more of that balance to sort of guide you and to bring you forward and to keep you oriented, your wishes will come true. And your wishes include, wow, that's really reflecting the ring light. Isn't that neat? Your wishes will come true if you allow that balance to come in. It's kind of one of those sort of infinity symbol equations, right? On the one hand, control makes you feel comforted. It makes you feel as if you're driving the bus. On the other hand, if you release control and you allow more people to help you and to offer ideas, now that should be a reciprocal relationship. It can't be one-sided for it to work, but you know that that balance is what's necessary to ultimately achieving your dreams and your wishes. So your North Star is the, it's so beautiful and poetic that that's the case, but your North Star is the energy of the season, which is temperance. And temperance is about patience, it's about practice, it's about peace, it's about balance, it's about the right mixture of energies in order to create what is ultimately a chemically balanced equation to achieve, to attain, to align, to ascend. I mean, this is everything right now. And it, even as I hold this, I feel more peaceful because this is the energy of this season calling to you as your North Star and as your directional compass. Finally, your path is how to walk forward in peace, how to move ahead with clarity and grace. This is the grounded step in the integration, the way to bring the balance into an action phase. It might be a small change, a shift in perspective, or a gentle boundary, but whatever it is, this step leads toward peace, not perfection. And this card will really show you how your inner guidance and your North Star become a lived experience. So the path, how to walk forward in peace, is cautiously. Now, the Four of Pentacles, which is what this is, often talks about being overcautious. Like you see how he's holding all of the coins close to him so as not to let them go. This might actually be talking about fiscal conservativeness, okay? So, but being cautious either way, you can release control and release the reins in steps. It doesn't have to be all at once, and it doesn't have to be cold turkey, because if you do, the Nine of Swords was the clarifier here. That's going to cause you a lot of anxiety and worry, and it's going to make you kind of repeat the cycle again, because the more you worry, the more you take on that Emperor energy and start to grab hold of the reins again, and the more this cycle repeats. Being cautious without being overcautious is really the temperance balance that you need to achieve here. And this feels very job-oriented, project-oriented. There are swords here, there are cups, but it feels like these are life worries that are translating into this reading. So those life worries can be anything from money and career to how our balance is, like work-life balance, our spiritual life balance. It's more talking about very high level, but also very material, grounded things. And there's a part of me that feels that this is very much maybe about running a business, starting a side hustle, or any kind of activity that leads to financial remuneration or revenue. So it's striking the balance between getting back what you put into it, whether that's time, money, or effort. Okay? So being cautious without overdoing it is really the balance that you need to strike here. That's the temperance, that's the North Star. And that's the path. To put that balance idea into action, release the reins of control, which is what the Emperor is about. But don't release them so fast or so much that you slide into anxiety, because that's just going to be self-defeating in the end. Well, this just feels like a super clear reading, by the way. So now we're going to do some advice with the Angelic Activations Oracle. This is a very ethereal deck. It's a Hay House deck. I got it in a subscription, but no longer is running, and I'm super bummed about that, but whatever. Life goes on, I guess. What was nice about the subscription is that it exposed me to oracles, which I'm not as drawn to as tarot cards, but I still use them because I still think they have really good purpose and really good advice. All right, Spirit, what is the advice for our viewers during temperance season, during the Sagittarius temperance season? That is too many. So you received this angel, which is actually called Faith. She is a cloak of protection, and the advice is you are protected, the worst is behind you, and you are ready to move beyond the challenges that you have been facing. You are safe now. Let go of the old and stop waiting for history to repeat itself, for you are in a new time in which you can create your own story and begin living it. If you feel you are stepping into the unknown, know that your angel is holding your hand, leading you on. Your activation affirmation is, I am safe and protected by angels. So if you believe in angels or guardians or spirits or protective gods, old or new, it's actually asking you to have faith in the protection that those beings provide for you. And I think kind of the bigger subtext message of this particular card is that much of what we've been describing is a healing journey, which is another piece of the Temperance card meaning and the Temperance archetype. Part of the reason why you have been so focused on maintaining control is because that may actually be a trauma response, certainly a learned response to things that have happened in your past that have allowed you to misplace faith and trust. If you can release a little of that need to control, which in other spiritual language, we're talking about the ego now versus your spiritual self, your 5D self, however you'd like to talk about that. This is more spiritualism than it is anything else. But if it's the idea that your soul knows better than your three-dimensional body and mind do, this is telling you to sort of trust what your inner vibrations are telling you. You know you feel better when you can allow that balance and allow that togetherness and allow that teamwork and allow that, even that faith to kind of enter the process, because it allows you to sort of let go of the reins. When you're holding on to the reins as tightly as you might have been, that's what makes you feel anxious and worried and depressed. So this is really just reinforcing the message of the original tarot cards that I've laid here. Have faith. It's going to work out. It's not going to repeat. History's not going to repeat. You're going to be able to achieve what you want to achieve. Just give yourself that grace and that clarity to allow the process to unfold and to allow yourself to let go. That it's that age-old message of surrendering and letting go. Finally, we're going to do some button advice with the Psychic Tarot Oracle. This is the pocket version, so it's very, very tiny. But I really enjoy this oracle quite a bit. It's probably one of my favorite ones. And it has a lot of very nice spiritual cards in it that I think could be helpful here. Okay. Spirit, what is the final advice for our viewer for this Temperance Archetype reading and Sagittarius season? Emotional withdrawal. It's funny that that should come up in advice, so I'm actually going to look at the book real quick to see if it makes any sort of sense. Oh, there it is. Okay. This card represents moving away or withdrawing from a current situation in your life, whether it's an old love, a relationship, or leaving behind what was once familiar in search of new horizons or beginnings. On a physical level, it's easy to get caught up in the materialistic world, but it's just as important to retreat from the outside world to enable you to pause, reflect, and heal. Schedule some alone time so you can commune with your soul and give the power of spirit the opportunity to restore your energy level, giving you the vitality to move forward in a positive direction. The number 8, which this is actually an 8, represents infinity, passion, control, and power. This is your time. Use this opportunity to tap into your heart and soul in order to find the courage and strength to continue your journey into that wonderful, undiscovered territory. Okay, so the concept of this card, which actually brings this card to mind because this was about being cautious. What this is asking you to do is to kind of pull back, almost as if to go into a little bit of a hermit mode, and kind of ask yourself what is important to you on this journey that this reading is describing to you. It talked a lot about love in the beginning, but I'm not seeing this to be a love reading at all. Like, I get no reverberation of specifically love and relationships. This is more about the emotions that we devote to a major project or hobby or endeavor or vocation or career or job. It's the idea that we've poured a lot of our heart and soul into it. And even part of the reason why we might be having trouble letting go is because in our heads, whoops, I dropped the card. In our heads, we have put so much time and so much of ourselves into it that releasing and surrendering and letting go is just too hard for us. Even if this particular, whatever it is we're withdrawing from is ultimately harmful to us in the end and is ultimately not aligned with what our soul really needs. So this is asking you to pull back your emotional investment into whatever it is that was described in these initial tarot cards, that it caused you to grab hold of the reins and to think that you had to control literally all of the outcomes, so that you can ask yourself what it is you'd like to do instead, where it is you'd like to put your time, your effort, your money, your emotional investment instead. And then trust that this new process, have faith that this new process will actually lead you to something that feels much more aligned, much more balanced, much more in keeping with your soul's purpose, so that you can feel like your wishes and your dreams are coming true. But you can do it slowly. It doesn't have to be all at once. It doesn't have to be overnight. In fact, the message of Temperance season and Sagittarius season is that we can reach our goals in whatever way feels truest to us. The Archer is all about shooting for the horizon and trying to achieve or reach or fulfill goals and dreams that we've had. but it never asks us, no matter what the Sagittarius placement might be in our chart, it never asks us to abandon who we are in the process of getting there. Because when we do that, we cause ourselves some real angst. And if we're in kind of a cycle like this, we repeat the cycle until we learn the lesson. So this is very much, this actually has a little echo of shadow work in it. It's asking us to identify what wound or hurt or pain has caused this cycle, to attempt to heal it, to attempt to let go of that need for control that might be a trauma response, certainly an emotional response, and then allowing that balance to guide us, to bring us forward, and to get us closer to our dreams and our wishes coming true. So that is our somewhat uplifting and certainly very, I don't know, as I'm talking about this, I feel very excited and fulfilled and adventurous. And so for that reason, I'm back in the shot. Hi. For that reason, my feelings with this are calm and peaceful. And that's really ultimately the meaning of temperance. So that's our temperance spread, angel, north star, and path. Temperance reminds us that balance isn't something we chase. It's something we cultivate with patience, practice, and quiet faith. Let these messages guide you through the start of Sagittarius season. What your heart whispers, what your truth points toward, and the step that brings you into harmony. I'll see you next week for our next Pick a Pile reading aligned with the themes of Temperance and Sagittarius. Until then, walk gently and trust your inner compass. And as always, you can find me at the store on Saturdays at Wake and Soul, and Melissa, our other reader, does Tuesdays through Fridays. The hours of open to close are 11 to 6. Hope to see you there. In the meantime, I hope you've enjoyed this reading. I hope the messages resonated with you. Please feel free to take what does. Love and light, and we'll see you at Wake and Soul in Grand Rapids. Bye.